Hey guys, what's up? It's Ben, the Fat Coach, helping to separate fat from fiction. Which is really interesting. I wanted to do a little video on this thing that we think and this thing that we say called the balanced diet. It's really fascinating to me. Where did this phrase come from? How has it got into our psyche? Everybody knows you should eat a balanced diet, right? But why? Right? What is a balanced diet? So let's break it down. Okay, your diet is all the stuff that you consume that gives your body what your body needs. All right, so a balanced diet should give your body everything it needs. Okay, and so what are those things? Well, there's protein, amino acid. Break down into amino acids. Use that for building your body, muscles, everything else. Okay, cells. You need some fats. Because the fat forms part of it's a structural component. It's a major component of your brain. 60% of the dry weight, if you take all the water out of your brain, 60% of what's left is fat. It also helps form, together with cholesterol, the sheaths that insulate your neurons in your brain that help you to think. So if you are running short of fat, then that's how it can affect your brain. Obviously, and there's a bunch of vitamins and nutrients and micronutrients that you need. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So you can get all of that with some meat, some animal fat, some organs from time to time, and then maybe supplement with the occasional medicinal plant as needed, right? There are certain things that your body does not need. One of them is sugar. There's no requirement for exogenous sugar. And quite frankly, you don't need any carbohydrates at all in your diet. There are certain components of the diet that we term essential. And essential means that you need it and you can't make it yourself, right? Or you can't make it in sufficient quantities. So things, your body actually produces, your liver creates between 70 and 80% of all the cholesterol that your body needs, which is quite a lot of cholesterol. And dietary cholesterol has almost no impact on that. There are a few things that we need to get. For example, vitamin B12 we cannot make. It comes from soil. It's made in soil. So you get it either by consuming soil or by consuming animals that have consumed some soil in the process of their day-to-day, going about their day-to-day lives, which is a good call for ruminants. So they get the B12 in there and it comes through in the meat. You need the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, and you cannot get those from any fat from the plant kingdom at all. So, again, another vote in favour of animal fats. You need DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, and you need EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid. These are required for a healthy brain, among other things. And your body cannot, you can synthesize a little of those, but from alpha-linoleic acid, but you can't, no way can you synthesize all that you need to keep your brain healthy. Okay, so there are a few things that are essential. Let's pull up the UK NHS advice on eating well. Okay, how to eat a balanced diet. Eating a healthy, balanced diet. Now, see how often these two words are included together. That's a kind of a mental programming thing. Healthy and balanced, strong and stable, safe and effective, healthy, balanced. We've been drilled, that's been drilled into our heads for our whole lives. Healthy and balanced are the same thing, right? They are equivalents. Well, they're not, right? Balanced, healthy and balanced, yes, actually, a balanced diet, but the problem is that they then go on to define a balanced diet in the wrong way. Right? Balanced diet should give you the full balance of everything your body needs and as little as possible of what it doesn't need. Right, well, let's go on. Important part of maintaining good health and can help you feel your best means eating a wide variety of foods in the right proportions. No, it doesn't. And consuming the right amount of food and drink to maintain a healthy body weight, kind of blah, 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 blah. Okay, then they go on to the Eat Well Guide, which is fascinating because the Eat Well Guide was designed by a committee And as you can see here, you can see some of the commercial interests that had input into the committee. That these actually sponsored, I think, 5 of the 9 seats on the committee that drew up the so-called Eat Well guide that tells us what a healthy, balanced diet is, and they can't possibly have any conflict of interest. So credit to Zoe Harcombe for that slide. Okay, so let's go through. Summarise the Eat Well guide. 5 portions of a variety of fruit and vegetables every day. See 5 a day. Well, 5 a day is a marketing slogan. 5 a day has no basis in science whatsoever. It came out of a meeting of fruit and vegetable retailers, I believe, in California in the 1990s. Okay, so they pulled it out their arse, right, and they've managed to squeeze it into the mainstream narrative. Why do you need 5 a day? There's no scientific basis for it whatsoever. Okay, base meals on higher fiber. Well, okay, stop right there. Fiber is not essential. Your body does not need fiber. It doesn't need to go in. All right. Fiber comes in a few forms. You've got soluble fiber, okay, which can dissolve in water, and you've got insoluble fiber, like cellulose. Cellulose is a carbohydrate, but the bonds between the glucose atoms are too tough for animals to be able to break down. So the only thing that can do that is the biological weapon known as bacteria. So you need to be a ruminant, or you need to be a hindgut digester like a gorilla or a horse in order to break down cellulose into glucose that you can then convert into fats and whatever. Now, so there's no need for fiber in the diet unless you're consuming a load of indigestible plant matter. Okay, in which case the fiber, the insoluble fiber, I believe then acts as an irritant to the gut, right? And it tells your gut, get rid of this stuff, so it keeps it all moving, right? People who give up fiber and go on a meat and fat diet don't need it. They don't get bunged up. It just doesn't happen. Okay, so you should base your meals on starchy foods. Well, there's no need for starch. There is no essential carbohydrate. Protein is essential, fats are essential, carbohydrate ain't essential. Yes, we can use it to get energy, but all this is saying is starchy foods like potatoes, bread, rice and pasta, it's saying put loads and loads of energy in your body. Okay, have some dairy or dairy alternatives such as soya drinks. Well, you don't actually need dairy anyway, but there are tribes like the Maasai in Africa, they consume a lot of milk. It's a complete food, pretty much. However, dairy, it has to be said, the way that we get it in the plastic bottles on the shelves, being pasteurized and homogenized, ain't great. If you actually feed that milk to a newborn calf, you'll kill it, right? There is a huge difference. And soya drinks, nah. All right? Soya drinks, you're going to get a load of phytoestrogens, which is going to mess up with your hormone balance, and you just don't need that, okay? Eat some beans, pulses. Nothing that you need that you can't get from steak and a bit of liver. Pulses. Fish is great. Eggs is great. Meat and other protein. Okay? Other protein. Well, what other protein is there? Hope you're not talking about insects. Anyway. So some fish, some eggs, some meat and other protein. Some dairy. And of course, choose unsaturated oils and spreads and eat them in small amounts. Well, small amounts, minimal amounts, please. Polyunsaturated fatty acids are deadly, toxic if you have them in... Here's the thing. The omega-6 fatty acids are essential because your body can't synthesize them very well. And so you need a small amount in your diet, but it's a very small amount. Okay, vegetable oil gives you far more than you need. Margarine is practically plastic, right? You put margarine outside, the ants will walk around it. The slugs will slither around it. Okay, it's not food. Bacteria can't digest it. Nothing can digest it, and that includes you. And plenty of fluids, kind of. Not really that important, to be honest. So that's it. If you're having foods and drinks that are high in fat, salt and sugar, have these less often and in small amounts. Well, fat is not a problem, depending on the source of the fat. And that's it. Here, most people in the UK eat and drink too many calories. Not much argument there. But the problem is that they're consuming lots of calories because they're not getting the nutrition. They're not getting the nutrition because they aren't getting a proper balanced diet. And a proper balanced diet would give your body everything it needs to build itself, to keep itself healthy, right? So what you're getting, the typical diet these days, about 2/3 of it is made up of hyper-processed crap that is based on wheat and soy and corn and sugar and seed oils, right? Which have practically no nutrition. So your body is shouting, feed me, I am starving for nourishment. And if all the food you've got, 2/3 of it is worthless, just full of calories, guess what? You're getting too many calories. Great big surprise. There. Blah, blah, blah. Fruit and vegetables, are you getting your 5 a day? Good source of vitamins and minerals? No, not really. A lot of the vitamins and minerals that you get in there are less bioavailable than they would be if you were getting them from a species appropriate source, i.e. meat and fat. Good source of minerals and fiber you don't need, right? And should make up 1/3 of the food you eat. I mean, liver is far more nutrient dense than any of these fruits and vegetables. And you are getting everything you need in the exact right proportions, and it's bioavailable. You get like heme iron from meat, which is highly bioavailable. Compare that to the iron that you get from spinach, where you're only getting like a 20th of the iron can actually be used by your body. And the same thing with, vitamins. You can compare, like beta carotene is not, proper whatever vitamin A is it. So you should have all these portions. And honestly, this stuff comes from nowhere. Starchy food should make up 1/3 of everything you eat. Nonsense. Bullshit. Right? If you want to be fat, right, then you do that. And apart from anything else, we haven't even talked about all the anti-nutrients and the toxins in the plants that don't want to be eaten either. No living thing wants to be eaten before it's had a chance to grow and reproduce and whatever. It wants to enjoy its life. Plants are the same as animals. And because plants can't run away or hide or fight, then they come up with their own biological methods. Milk and dairy, choose semi-skimmed or no, absolutely wrong. Right, absolute nonsense. If you can, get full fat, unpasteurized raw milk. Beans, pulses, blah, blah, blah. Let's have a look at this. Meat is a good source of protein. Wow. But choose lean cuts of meat. Wrong. Skinless poultry. Wrong. To cut down on fat. Nonsense. Right? Always cook meat thoroughly. Whatever. Doesn't really apply to beef and some other things, but hey. Try to eat less red and processed. Right, less red meat. Nonsense. Okay? No reason for that. There's no scientific basis for that whatsoever. Okay? Have a bit of fish, blah, 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 nuts and high in fat. Oil, let's get on with this. Oils and spreads. Some fat in the diet is essential, but on average, people in the UK eat too much saturated fat. That is not true. They don't get enough saturated fat. They don't get enough fat from natural, wholesome animal sources. It's important to get most of your fat from unsaturated oils and spreads. That is the wrong advice, 100%. Swapping to unsaturated fats can help lower cholesterol. All right, that's actually higher overall cholesterol is associated with longer life in later years. There is a period for men, I think, in their kind of 40s, 50s, where an elevated cholesterol level is slightly more connected with overall mortality. But in older age, that's completely reversed. And the higher your cholesterol, the longer you are likely to live. All types of fat are high in energy and should be eaten in small amounts. Well, yes, they are high in energy, but they are also high in satiation. So when you eat proper fats from animal sources, your body will feel satiated and not want to eat more. What does not do that is the starchy crap that they've told you should make up 1/3 of everything that you shove in your fat mouth, right? These guys are liars. Eat less saturated fat. No, you need more. Sugar and salt. Yeah, well, sugar definitely, right? There is zero requirement. Your body needs no sugar. Your brain needs some glucose to run, but your liver can create that small amount of glucose by breaking down fats or proteins through gluconeogenesis. Now, here is something that's true. Regularly consuming foods and drinks high in sugar increases your risk of obesity and tooth decay. Well done. Right, the problem with salt is, I mean, this is quite complex, but what they call salt, sodium chloride, is not salt. Natural salt comes from the sea. It's got a lot of metal ions and a lot of non-metal ions. It's got a range, it's like a spectrum of nutrients that your body can use. And what it doesn't need from that will come out in your urine. Now, the problem is that they've taken most of the more valuable salts out of sea salt, and they end up with a load of the two most abundant elements, which are sodium and chloride ion. And they can't dump it on the ground because it kills the ground. So what they've done is they've sold it to us and called it salt, which it isn't. It's a purified, refined type of salt. So the problem is not that people are getting too much salt these days, it's that they're getting too much sodium. So they're not getting enough potassium to balance out the sodium. We've got so much sodium that's what creates the high blood pressure and so on and so forth. So if you're eating proper salt from the sea, then you shouldn't have a problem whatsoever. And what a load of nonsense. Honestly, what a load of rubbish. So this has actually been, according to the Diabetes Times, the European Parliament has slammed this Eat Well plate as being misguided. And here we are, the National Health Service in the UK, talking about this, the balanced diet, the importance of having a balanced diet. It's completely misleading. This stuff is propaganda. And if you follow it, you will be on a path to chronic disease and obesity. And so this is what we're faced with. This is what we're fighting against. And this is not based on science whatsoever. If you want to know more, check out Zoe Harcombe. I mentioned her earlier on because I nicked her slide. I'm going to link to a session that Zoe presented at the Ethical Farming Conference a few years ago, where I was in the audience. And that was the first time I'd met Zoe. We'd actually had lunch just previously. Watch it. She did her PhD on the science behind the National Nutrition Guidelines for the USA and the UK, and it makes for very intriguing reading. So I won't try and steal Zoe's thunder. Watch the Ethical Farming Conference clip after this if you're interested in knowing what the actual facts are, because what we're looking at now, ain't it. Okay, thanks for watching everyone. See you later.